So let's talk about a quarterback controversy, a quarterback battle, a quarterback, whatever you want. We are going to head over to the Raiders and we are going to talk about what's going on in Vegas between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. One of the guys just kind of took the leg up this week, Chris. But if I were to ask you right now, which quarterback, if the Raiders are your team, and by the way, if you're new to the channel, right? Like we've said this, we are Lions fans, you know that, but we love the NFL. And Chris, the Raiders are kind of like your AFC team, right? Like you're a Raiders guy. And so if I'm telling you right now, not your favorite team, but your number 2 team, your AFC team, the Raiders, who do you want to be your quarterback? Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? What are we looking at?
Yeah, if you're a Raiders fan, you got to be thinking to yourself, man, I just want to see some consistency, some just really good, or not really good, but just some good play, because the Raiders are in a unique position. They've got good enough players that if they get a good quarterback, get good quarterback play, they'll be just fine.
Yep.
But they're not good enough. And what team is to win if your quarterback's not halfway decent? I mean, nobody really. So
nobody.
So the good news is they've got the talent around the quarterback to make a move here. So I think if neither one of these guys are like your long-term solution, like there's no way. So I just think about Minshew and about his ability to make things happen, and he just has. Yeah. So it's like Minshew would be the guy. So is that what you're kind of seeing being reported, or what's going on with the battle so far? I would say Minshew, but I don't know.
Yeah, so early on, I mean, really even before camp started, everything in OTAs, like early on in the spring, early summer type deal, everybody was talking about Aiden O'Connell. Devonta Adams was out there talking about Aiden O'Connell. Be like, yeah, it's basically his job at this point. And now we're sitting here, 10 days into training camp. And if you're reading between the lines, if you're seeing what this beat reporter's saying, then this beat reporter and this person who's able to come to practice, guess who they're all talking about now?
Ooh.
Gardner Minshew. Right? Okay. Gardner Minshew's not that bad. He's a guy who's gone, I think it's 22-27 as a starter, right? Mm-hmm. He was 9-8 last year with the Colts. By the way, that 22-27, he was like 8-16 or 8-17 with the Jacksonville Jaguars when they were just an awful organization. Minshew mania. Remember all that stuff? Mm-hmm. And he's a guy who came out, just threw the ball all over the yard. I think it was at Washington State. But when put in the right system, he had success. Now, he did that with the Colts. He was their backup quarterback to Anthony Richardson, and he had to come in. Jonathan Taylor was hurt for almost the entirety of that time.
Yep.
So he's winning games without one of the best running backs in the NFL. And when you're talking about weapons, I think it's pretty safe to say that the weapons in Vegas for the Raiders are significantly better. Devonta Adams is an upgrade over Pittman. He just is, right? I'm telling you right now, Brock Bowers is an upgrade over anyone at the tight end position.
For sure.
And so like that defense for the Raiders is a huge upgrade over the Colts defense. So if he can go 9-8 with the Colts, what can he do with the Raiders?
Yeah, and you're right. And I always want to look at this because I think it's important to see when you look at White, Adams, wide receivers, good. Would like a little bit more playmakers at wide receiver, but that's okay. But Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, what if you could be something? Offensive line decent enough, but again, you nailed it because you look at his stats. One of the things I like about him is his completion percentage, even on bad teams. I mean, I'd like it up closer to 70, but these couple years here, and yeah, for sure. And another thing that he's done is he's played a lot of football consistently. Like he's not like been a backup quarterback for 3 years in a row and didn't get to see the field. You know, he's seen action in every year, and you look at these yards that he's thrown for. So he's out there and he's playing, and he's got ability. And so if you are a Raiders fan, you're like, that's all we need, man, because there's a new vibe in the building, new coach. You've got freaking Crosby just scaring everybody to death. And, you know, so your defense is just he sets the tone defensively, but it's like, man, it's really hard to set the tone defensively when you're not scoring and you got to go back out there. So complementary football is such a big deal. So if Minshew just kind of keeps the ball moving, score here, 3 points here, couple first downs, that's all they need, at least for this year, even, because I was shocked they didn't get a quarterback, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you gotta move forward. So if Minshew
Yep.
can be the guy, and no, I am always surprised at how good he is, because you think he's a 1-year wonder, but then I
Mm-hmm.
just showed you he's been here 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to see. And this is all that they need. They don't need a star quarterback. They just need enough, because we've looked closely at this division. You got the Chiefs. You always are going to play the Chiefs tough. You just
Mm-hmm.
are. It's in division. It's the Chiefs. You're going to play them tough. The Broncos could possibly be the worst team in the NFL. And then the Chargers, we've all just kind of been like, I think they could be good. I don't know. It could be another year
Mm-hmm.
from now. It's just a big question mark. So your division's oddly wide open. I know it's hard to say that with
I
the
know.
defending champion in your division, but it's kind of wide open.
Yeah, that second spot is up for grabs.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it absolutely is. And you can make the argument that of those three teams, that the Raiders are the most proven to get that second spot. Can I talk about the other guy for a second?
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell looked like he was pressing a little bit. And here's the thing: if they're dead even, you got to go with O'Connell. Like if they're dead even, you got to go with the younger guy, because you have to wonder what the upside is. That's the problem. I don't think there is a ton of upside. In fact, I think that Minshew has as much upside as Aiden O'Connell, if I can be completely honest. Aiden O'Connell played at Purdue. You know, he was one of those guys who I don't know how else to say this other than he's a guy who looks like a 3-star recruit.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't, I mean, his mobility is negative, right?
Mhm.
I mean, like negative. And I respect him. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great teammate. I love that Devonta Adams loves him, and that all by itself might be enough to get him the job.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to realize, like, you have two guys. One's been there, done that. The other one hasn't. And Gardner Minshew's played in big games. Jalen Hurts was hurt down the line 2 years ago, and Gardner Minshew is the quarterback who had to start 2 games to end the regular season for seeding, for all that kind of stuff, for the Eagles to get him in the playoffs, like
Mhm.
a couple years ago. Like he's played in big games. Like he's played in those heavy down the line games with the Colts, even last year, keeping them in the race, and then even playing a game for all the marbles. He just went up against CJ Stroud, and you're gonna have
Right.
a problem with that. So yeah, I just, yeah, he's the guy. He's been there. He's done that. He's a good guy to have on your team. And then you figure out they have their whole allotment of draft picks next year and the year after. They can utilize some of that in order to move up. But right now, the plan is play good defense and don't press and don't make mistakes on offense.
Mhm. And you bring up a great point about O'Connell. I never did fully understand that, because we know in today's NFL, if you're not mobile at all, then you have to
Ooh,
be really good. And we have that. We have Jared Goff, who is frustrating at times when we weren't winning, because it's like, oh man, he can't
yeah.
move at all. But what he's so good at, he's so accurate. All the other things. But if you're average at the other things and you can't move, it's hard. Where Minshew, man, he's make something happen, and that's just the way it is, and that's the NFL, and that's football. What an advantage if you can move around a little bit and avoid a sack, or just scramble and pick up 6 yards. So it does feel more and more Minshew, and let's make it happen.